Hi there. It's that time of the year where everything in your local grocery store is pumpkin flavored. And when we lie to ourselves about how that scene in The Exorcist isn't really too scary, well, our world that we share gives us some interesting sights in these times. From decorative homes covered in cobwebs to little children walking around in Fortnite costumes. I don't think anyone will be able to top the scare that COVID-19 has given us this year so far. All that aside, today, I have a tale for you of horror that took place in our great big world. These are haunting words, and do include a graphic nature and description, so listener discretion is advised. Ronald Clark O'Brien. Some of you may be familiar with that name. Ronald shares something similar with all of us. He was a father. Some of us are fathers, and some of us have fathers. But Ronald O'Brien was not like many of the fathers we know and love. He had two beautiful young children that he brought into this world. Elizabeth, his daughter, and Timothy, his son. Ronald was married to Danine, and they lived a happy, quiet life in the city of Deer Park, Texas. He worked as an optician during the day, and on weekends he was one of the deacons in the Second Baptist local church, where he would sing happy praise songs about joy in life, the perfect family. Well, in the year of 1974, things were not looking well financially for Ronald. He was worried that the demand that his life had asked for was too much, and that he would not be able to meet those demands. After all, Ronald could not hold a job to save his life. Come Halloween time, and the weather was not compliant to his children's desires of trick-or-treating, Ronald decided to take his kids out anyways. The weather wasn't too bad after all. He drove out into a neighborhood in Pasadena, and his neighbor's children tagged along. The children knocked on the doors, yelling as loud as they can, "Trick or treat," excited to collect their empire of candies. The time was passing, and Ronald could only feel his troubles grow, listening to the children rummaging about the doors. They came to one house in particular. The place seemed vacant, and after a few knocks, nobody had come to the door. The children were not going to let one stubborn adult ruin their night of candy collecting, so they hurried on to the next house. This was it. The exact moment that Ronald felt the time was perfect. He took out his small collection of cyanide potassium and poured out the containments into 5 pixie sticks. Then he stapled them shut. He caught up with the children and claimed that the gentleman at the last house answered the door and had given him some candy. He gave 1 stick to each child, including his daughter and son. Ronald did not feel satisfied with giving only the accompanied children his little surprise. He found one of the youth members from his church in the area and decided to give the 5th pixie stick onto him. Once the group got back to their homes, Ronald was ready to commence the act and told his son Timothy to eat from the pixie stick which he had given to him. Timothy was a young boy and had trouble opening the pack, but Ronald was a caring and loving father to his son and helped open the pack for him. Timothy took a taste to the candy, but soon his eyebrows scorned and the face of disgust was shown. Timothy did not like the taste of candy, but of course, who could enjoy the flavors of poison? The time had passed, and Timothy told his father that he felt sick. His stomach was hurting. He began to vomit profusely, so much so that little Timothy's body could not handle the poison, and he passed out in his dad's hands. Most fathers would be destroyed at the thought of holding their dead 8-year-old child in their arms. Not Ronald. No, some would think he carried the biggest grin on his face. See, Ronald had recently applied for life insurance on his family, and to Ronald, this was not his son he was holding, but rather $100,000 in his hands, and in today's money, roughly $250,000. He had to call the ambulance. The insurance company could not pay him out if there was no dead child in the first place. After being questioned by the police about the event, they grew suspicious of Ronald, not believing his story of being unable to remember which house he acquired the pixie sticks from. They grew even more suspicious of Ronald after learning that the homes they visited did not give out any pixie sticks. Ronald O'Bryan began to talk in circles with the authorities, but once they had done more digging, they found that the very next morning after his son had passed away, he did something no parent is expected of. Ronald was the equivalent of $500,000 in debt at the time. He was suspected of theft at his job, and his car was due to be repossessed. There was extensive research done onto Ronald's history, and something odd had stuck out to the police. The months prior to Ronald's son's death, he had taken out a life insurance policy on both of his children, amounting to over $50,000 in today's worth. 1 month before Timothy had passed, Ronald had taken an additional $100,000 life insurance policy on his children again. Not only all of this, but the very few days before Timothy's death, he had taken, yes, you guessed it, another insurance policy for another $100,000 in today's money. To top it all off, they found that Ronald had visited a chemical supply store in Houston to purchase a small amount of cyanide right before Halloween came, but left after learning that the minimum quantity to buy was 5 pounds of the substance. Through all this, Ronald O'Bryan maintained his innocence as a father to his son. He was arrested on November 5th for the murder of Timothy O'Bryan, being indicted on 1 account of capital murder and 4 accounts of attempted murder. Ronald pleaded not guilty as a psychopath who just killed his oldest son would. The story ends with Ronald O'Bryan being sentenced to death, but he had his first day postponed from August 8th to May 25th. His attorney had successfully postponed his death, and you know, the third time is the charm. He was placed to be put to death by lethal injection on March 31st in 1984. These were the last words Ronald O'Bryan left with us before his death. I forgive all, and I do mean all, those who have been involved in my death. God bless you all, and may God's blessing be always yours. Ronald O'Bryan is nicknamed the Candyman. He had brought life into this world only to take it away for small slithers of paper. This is one of the most haunting stories that had taken place in the month of October. I will be working on another story about a young girl named Cindy Song, so if you haven't already subscribed, then please do so if you have any interest in that. If you disliked the video, then please leave a dislike. And thank you for watching. And make sure not to take stapled shut pixie sticks from strangers this Halloween.